Hi, this is a quick video. I'm going to try to make it quick about how to mount and label your artwork for an art show. You're getting it ready to be presented for the art show, and you want to make your artwork look its best so that when it's presented at the art show, everybody wants to look at it. And you are going to get a grade for how well you mount your artwork. So what you're going to be graded on is um, how well you centered your artwork on the mounting paper. Okay, so here's a little old artwork. This is probably back from 2012. It's very old. You can see it's already been glued in the past and taken off. And then this is called tag board. This is a very thick black paper. Sometimes we mount on black tag board. Sometimes we mount on white tag board. Since there's a white background in this piece, we're mounting on black to contrast. If we had a black background in our artwork, we would mount on white paper to contrast. So you're going to be graded on how well you center your paper in onto the tag board, okay? And you're going to be graded on how well you place your name tag, this is the label for the artwork. It needs to be straight. It needs to not have glue streaks all over it. So you don't want to glue it lopsided. You don't want to get it all dirty with glue. So, and then the last thing you're being graded on is your artwork staying flat, or are corners coming up or edges coming up? Okay. So you're being graded on how well you centered your artwork on the tag board, meaning that there's an even amount of border all around. In this case, it'll be 1.5 inches. This edge here is 1.5 inches, and I want it to be 1.5 inches all the way around. You do not need to use a ruler for that. You just need to eyeball it and center it as best you can. This name tag needs to go in the bottom right, straight so that it's not lopsided, and needs to stay clean. And then you need your artwork to be completely flat with no corners or edges peeling up. Okay, so here's what I like to do. Everybody might have a different method of gluing, but here's how I like to do it. First, actually, you're going to put your name and period on the back of your tag board. Okay, so you're going to put your first name, use a pencil for this because shiny pencil shows up well on black, and then your period. Okay, so first and last name, period, on the back of your tag board. Because if your name is on the back of your artwork, once you glue it down, it's not going to be visible anymore, and then I will have no idea whose it is if you don't put first, last name, and period on the back of your tag board. So always do that first. Don't wait until your artwork is glued to do it last. Do this part first, okay? Then you're going to use glue stick and a tiny bit of liquid glue for this, okay? So we're going to use a generous heaping amount of glue stick all over the back of this artwork, okay? All over, including on the edges and corners. And you can see that I'm getting a lot of glue stuck on here. There's chunks of it even, and I'll spread that out in a minute, but it's okay to get chunks out on there first before you spread it out because you want a thick layer of glue stick, okay? So if you look closely, you can see all these chunks of glue stick. Spread those out. It's okay to get chunks at first, but then spread them out so that they're not leaving bumps under your artwork. So now once I spread out those chunks, I've got a nice, really thick layer of glue stick on here. A thin layer of glue stick is not going to do it. It's going to be temporary and it's going to peel right back up. Then, once you've got a thick layer of glue stick all over the back of your artwork, don't forget this part. I'm going to turn it this way so you can see the whole thing. You're going to do a dot of glue in each of the 4 corners. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then what you can do is make sure, and you can take the nozzle of the glue and just kind of spread it inward so that it doesn't squirt out the corners when you glue this down. I'm just taking the nozzle and I'm going like this and I'm spreading it inward, making sure it goes into the corner, but then spreading it inward like this so that the glue is there in the corner, but it's not too big of a dot that's going to squirt out onto the black tag board. Okay, I'm going to turn this way too so you can see the whole thing. Now, this part, when you center it, you want to stand up. Do not sit down. Stand up and look over. Get a bird's eye view of your artwork and the tag board. And you're going to hover it. Don't just stick it right down. Hover it over the tag board so it's almost touching but not quite touching. Hover it over and stand up and look over to make sure, eyeball it, that there's an even amount of space all the way around the four edges. So I hovered it first. Now I'm sticking it down. Okay, you can stick it down now. And then just double check before it's really stuck down. Double check that all your borders are good. All my borders look about 1.5 inches. It's not lopsided. It's not too far down this way or too far over on one side. It looks pretty perfect. Okay. Now, instead of taking your hands and smoothing it out on top of the artwork, here's what you do. You make sure you have a clean table surface. There's no graphite. There's no paint. There's this. Make sure your table, just wipe it off like that. Make sure it's clean. Flip your artwork over like this, upside down. And from the back, smooth it out like this. And get it really nice and flattened. This way, you're not spreading any graphite around. You're not spreading any charcoal around. You're not smushing around any type of medium that's on your artwork. You're just smoothing it from the back and not smudging your artwork from the front. Okay, so just keep doing this until it's really stuck down. You can pat it, and I'm putting a lot of pressure on it when I'm rubbing it from the back. Okay, and then once you flip it over, it should be good. And if you have a painting that's really curled and it's still curling after you've flipped it over and smoothed it out, just give it to me and I'll put it under some heavy books and we'll let the glue dry underneath heavy books and then it'll be flat. Okay, and then the last thing you do is glue your label. Don't use liquid glue for the label. Okay, put the liquid glue away. You don't need that anymore. You're going to use only glue stick for this. So don't do it on here because we don't want to get any glue on the tag board. Put it on your table. It's always good to have a piece of scrap paper underneath this so you don't get glue on your table. Get a generous amount of glue onto the glue stick and then glue your label right in the bottom right corner and make sure it's straight. And it's a good idea to have about the same amount of space between your artwork and the bottom of the tag board, roughly, and the same amount of space roughly on the side right here too. Okay, so this goes on the bottom right, not all the way to the edge, but a little bit in. So it's kind of centered between here and here. Okay, and then you're done. Your artwork is ready to be presented in the art show once you get to that point.